Hello, I'm Tina Madison White with the Asheville View, and I am here with Kasem Mohsen, who is the founding partner at Equilibrium Impact Ventures and the manager of venture Winston Grants. Kasem, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Tina. Thanks for having me.
Let me just start with, what is venture Winston Grants?
Sure. So the Venture Winston Grants is a private-public partnership between the city of Winston-Salem and business leaders here in the local community. And what they've come together to create was this program that will allow us to provide $50,000 non-dilutive grants to 15 to 20 different startups. And we're focused on three specific sectors. So these are startups that are building the future of food and agriculture, startups that are building the future of aerospace and aviation, and startups that are building the future of healthcare.
So can you give one or two either real or hypothetical examples of what a grant might cover? A request, a proposal?
Yeah, sure. So, our application is pretty thorough. We cover most of the sort of basic things that you would see in any sort of grant application. What we're trying to also do is prepare these businesses to go through the thought process of what they might need to provide an investor. So we're certainly looking at things like, how big is your target market? How innovative is your product? Are you already creating revenue in your business? If so, who are your customers? What does your market look like? Those sort of business things. But also something that I'm really proud to say is that we have worked with Aisha Adams and Equity Over Everything to do an equity audit of not just our application, but our process and our selection committee to make sure that we have from the beginning to the very end, an equitable process and equitable outcomes. And so our application does ask about accessibility questions. What are things that we can do to make you feel comfortable, not just entering this program, but coming into Winston? What are the things that are special about you, whether it's your background, your gender, your veteran status? Are you differently able? Do you have a different neurotype? We want to know all of those things so that we can prepare a space that's equitable and accessible for everybody. It's really important to us. It's really important to my mission. And Aisha's done an amazing job. And I can tell you, in 3 weeks, we've gotten 175 applications. And I'm over the moon in terms of not just all over the country, but all different types of backgrounds, ethnicities, genders, neurotypes, disabilities. I've seen several indigenous folks come in with their amazing ideas. And I'm really, really thrilled. And that's just a testament to the work that Aisha does and the testament to our team to kind of follow through with her suggestions.
Of those 175, can you give some sense of the range of scale, like a particularly small or a very large one?
Sure. Yeah. So, we think that strike zone for this program are companies that are either beginning or just kind of getting in the middle of building their prototypes. So if you have a product or if you have an app or you're building an MVP, $50,000 in non-dilutive funding might just be enough to get you over the edge. And so, if you're in the idea stage, we would still love to see you. And we're seeing, I would say, a third maybe in idea stage, meaning they've got an idea, they've got a business plan, but they maybe need to make a few critical hires, or maybe they just need that incubation. And certainly, open to them. The bulk of what we're seeing are those folks that either have built or in the process of building their product, or at the end of building their product, and they need that grant money to bring in a full-time person. But what they really need is connections to our partners so they can start to beta test. That's kind of the sweet spot, and we're seeing the bulk of our applications there. If we're thinking about the bell curve, sort of the bulk of them are either beginning their prototypes or need that money to get over the hump to finish up their prototypes.
Do most of these involve some sort of technology, or are there others, or are there any that are very service intense? Or
Yeah, so most of them are technology. However, one of the specific areas, for example, in agriculture that we're looking for is something called building a bridge between, to bridge the urban and rural divide. So something that we've seen, obviously, in our political zeitgeist, but also just in our communities, is that we are having completely different lived experiences, whether you live in an urban center versus whether you live in a rural community. And almost all of our agriculture is happening in the rural sector. And so the understanding of what a day in the life of a farmer is to people who live in the city, unless they grew up on the farm, they don't really have an understanding of that. And so things like agro-tourism, things like platforms that can get farmers who are also inventors or also tech people, how can they get their ideas in front of investors? Maybe if you're in a rural community and you're a farmer, but you have a great idea, you may not know where to even start to get in front of an investor. So what this program is also trying to do is bridge that divide and find innovative ways of connecting the rural community and the urban community around this thing called food that we all really enjoy.
In the LGBTQ community, one of the things I've noticed is a lot of regionalization. So you used to have very local prides. You had local chambers of commerce, and in Charlotte, they've just announced that they're changing the Charlotte Chamber, LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce to a Carolinas Chamber of Commerce. And my organization is now their Western North Carolina representative. And I'm seeing the same happen in some other 501c3 areas. How would you define geography? If you are thinking about North Carolina, is it North Carolina, or would you, for the kind of funding pool that you're looking for, would you think about the whole Southeast, or how would you think about geography?
Yeah, so I think about the whole Southeast. I was, when my father died, we moved to the South. I was actually raised from age 6 to 28 in Pensacola, Florida, of all places. And if you know it, you know what my experience was. But the South holds a very special place in my heart. And I've left several times, and I always end up coming back. And I always end up coming back to North Carolina, because I feel like North Carolina really could be the leader in terms of equitable investment. But we have amazing assets around the Southeast, not the least of which the majority of our Black and Brown communities live in the South of this country. And so the HBCUs are mostly in the South of this country. And the workforce, the innovative workforce that's going to create the diverse thought and the diverse perspectives, they all live here in the South. And the worst thing that could happen for us is for those people to have to leave the South in order to be successful. But we have an infrastructure problem in terms of capital, which I talked about before. And so there's just no way that we can be Asheville specific, Winston specific, Charlotte specific, even though they have all the banks, North Carolina specific. We can't do that if we really do want to compete with some of the other up and coming areas in the countries like Detroit, or the established markets like Boston. So even if for some reason Silicon Valley drops off the map, and it won't, but let's say it does, we still have these other major sort of hubs that are doing an amazing job at drawing entrepreneurs in. And just as importantly, they're doing an amazing job of drawing investment dollars in. And so I don't see any way in the short term that we can think within our stovepipes and expect to be successful.
Let's end coming back to your program. And let's remind people the deadline and how they would apply.
Yeah, so go to venture-winston.com, venture-winston.com, and you'll get everything that you need to know about eligibility, how to apply, who we're working with. And then right there when you get there, it says start my application. That'll take you to a platform called F6S, and you'll have the application right in front of you. Pretty straightforward. It's going to ask you a lot of things about your business. So, have all your pitch decks and everything together. And then you'll have until June 30th to apply. And then after June 30th, we're going to get our partners and our selection committee together. We're going to, go through the applications for a couple of months. And then we expect to announce a round of finalists in late August. And then we're going to have a party. So all the finalists are going to come into Winston-Salem. We're going to welcome you with open arms and roll out the red carpet. We're going to show you everything we have to offer as a community to entrepreneurs and connect you with government and business leaders and incubators and accelerators and relocation experts. We're going to feed you and we're going to give you an opportunity to pitch in front of our selection committee, who are executives from some of the leading corporations around the country that work in these sectors. And then we're going to choose our grant winners, and we're going to announce that in early November. And so we expect those grant winners to come to Winston-Salem by the end of January, and we're going to basically wrap our arms around them and support them for an entire year to make sure that they've got a product that needs to get to market, that they're going to get to market, have testers, have commercial experience, and then hopefully We're going to live and stay here in Winston because it's just an amazing place to innovate, amazing place to live. Cost of living is low for now, knock on wood. And we've got amazing universities and parks and anything you'd ever want. So really excited. Get your application in by June 30th at venture-winston.com.
Fantastic. Kasem, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tina.
And
yeah, really great to meet
we
you.
will be watching you closely this year.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Bye. Thanks.